Welcome to everyone. Thank you for being here, and thank you to our lovely panel. Thank you all for being here. And they're going to introduce us to the Parsons graduate exhibition that's starting today. So we wanted to introduce all of you to the crowd, and we'll start off with Karen Mercado. She's the VP of Human Resources, Talent Acquisition at Calvin Klein.
Hello.
Next to her is Ricardo Alva, the Managing Director at 27 Global Search. 24/7 Global Search, sorry. Then we're here with Lauren Ray, the Human Resource Director of North America, SMP CP. Sandro Maj, Claude Perrault.
Hi.
And then you're here with Sandy Wang, Director of Talent Acquisition at Vince. And thank you for being here. And first of all, we wanted to know, could you tell us about your role and a little bit about your companies?
So I am Vice President of Talent Acquisition for Calvin Klein. I lead the talent strategy for all of Calvin Klein brands, including Collection, Platinum label, which only sells primarily in Asia and in Europe, and White label, or what we call main labels, so everyone knows what that is here in the U.S. So that goes across the retail stores, wholesale channels, Calvin Klein jeans, underwear, and also globally. So I am the person that you'll probably meet when you want to work at Calvin Klein. So I would say 75% of all resumes go through me. So, okay.
And I already asked her if she had news for us, and she wouldn't say anything, so
We'll talk about that
we'll talk later. Hi, my name is Ricardo Alva. I'm the Managing Director of 24/7. It's a fashion, retail, beauty recruiting agency. We got 12 offices across North America and Europe. And we've been lucky enough to place talent last year in 25 countries. So we work with a lot of brands, American brands expanding in Europe, European brands coming here, Middle East, all across the board. So it's very exciting industry that we are in, and you're going to be taking part of a lot of changes, a lot of opportunities, very creative. We interview thousands of people in all the different offices. And we got lucky enough to be able to see the talent that is coming to the market, and what brands are doing, and what exciting things are happening in all the companies. So I don't meet everybody coming in, unfortunately, but we try to meet everybody, bring them to the office face to face, know the talent, and hopefully try to help you. Good.
Hi, my name is Laura Ray. I'm the Human Resource Director for SMCP North America, which is Sandro Maj and Claude Perrault. We're a French fashion group. We have 3 brands, but only 2 are currently here in the US and Canada, which are Sandro and Maj. We're relatively new to North America. We opened our first store in 2011 and have kept going. So as far as what I do, I lead the human resources function for SMCP. We're about 500 in total, so my job is everything from recruiting our talent, talent acquisition and development, all the way through making sure that you get paid, to making sure that you have great benefits that keep you engaged and healthy and happy, and then to working with our senior management team to ensure that we're preparing properly for the future, especially with the launch of Claudie, our 3rd brand, sometime in the future. And I'm sorry, I should have said training as well.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sandy Wang, and I'm the Director of Talent Acquisition for Vince. Vince was founded in 2002, so we have 5 different channels of business. We have the wholesale group and also the retail group. Retail, we roughly have about 38 stores currently, and we also have the outlet division. We roughly have about 14 stores across the U.S., and then we also have e-commerce sites and also international business. We have a showroom in France right now, and that's the only remote office other than LA and New York. And we'll also have existence in Asia as well in the form of wholesale. We're in a really unique situation, as I was talking to our peer panels here that our design lab is located in LA, where the other business functions are in New York. So that makes my job very interesting. So roughly about 90% of the jobs will go through me. So I've been very, very busy, working very diligently to fill positions both coasts, and we also have roughly about 300 employees out in the field, which we have great partners in manning that, which I'm very thankful.
Thank you. And as current Parsons students, and now lots of them are graduating, and we all want to fit in a company that like matches our identity, who we are, and we want to be linked also, so we have a good environment. So could you tell us a little bit more about like what's your company environment, or like what makes you special, not only in structure but in the kind of people you have? Does someone want to tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, Calvin Klein. So when you think of Calvin Klein, you think of these like lovely images, Calvin Klein, beautiful ad campaigns, right? And nice, sexy people, you know, in underwear and in jeans, you know. So, but within our environment or within our company, you know, it's a very a corporate environment. Actually, we're a little buttoned up. So we have, you know, we are a public company. We do fall under the PVH umbrella. But in terms of the company culture, we're still a fashion house, but I will dare to say that we're no divas. We're actually a very nurturing, very inspiring culture that we're almost like a family. Okay, so within the last, so I've been with the company for almost 10 years now in July. And I started when the company was about 350 employees, okay? Today, we're 905 employees. So we have experienced significant growth. For us to maintain the culture, you know, we're very selective in terms of the individuals that come in because they have to really align with the overall aesthetic of Calvin Klein. So I use these words loosely. You know, aesthetic is not only like wearing black and white, right, in terms of the House of Calvin, but it's about understanding like what we're trying to do, like what the values are, what the overall vision is of the company, and also like does that brand or does our brand speak to you? Like, does that resonate? So for us, we're trying to fill not only, or we're trying to attract individuals that not only fulfill an open job requisition, okay, but also that fit component. Because we want to make sure that individuals stay within our family. You know, we use those words a lot within our environment. We think of employees not just as employees, but really our family, because our average tenure of an employee is about 7 to 8 years. Okay. Does that answer the question? Yeah. Okay.
Shall I go next?
Sure.
Our position is a little bit different because we work with a lot of the brands across the globe. So the biggest trick of our business is understand the culture of the client. What is the brand say? What the people that are successful there? What background they have? How they work? You have environments that are very collaborative. They all very work together. And you have other companies that everybody's in a silo and do their own thing, and sometimes they don't even talk with each other. And then when we meet the candidates, if not the candidates, where they will be better, where they will thrive, they learn better, they're more excited. And culture is something that you always need to think when you're looking for a new position, because if you end up in a company that is really disaligned with what you like, you're really not going to be happy. And sooner or later, that's going to show up. So when you're looking for your next opportunity or a career, make sure that you feel identified. Look at social media, what this company stands for, and the environment, what they represent. And it doesn't mean the company is better than the other one, it's just it's different. And what environment is better for you. And I think that's very important.
ago. I think in my role, I like to look at it as matchmaking, right? So you are a one person and the company is another person. So you have to see what you like and kind of go through that. So that's what we called it, that cultural fit. So if you're somebody that loves process and it's a little bit more process driven, then perhaps you need to look for a company that's very well established. For us, our environment is very flat organization, and it's also relatively new to compare to a lot of the companies out there. So it's very entrepreneurship. So what worked yesterday may no longer work today. So if you don't have that flexibility and you don't like change, it may not be the best situation for you. So do a lot of research and find out. And when you go into an interview, not only being interviewed, interview the company as well and say, what makes this job challenging? So it should be a two-way relationship. I personally love it when somebody asks me those questions. So our organization, it is very flat and it's fast-paced. We want results and resolution straight away. So everything is heightened and you have to kind of, have a tough skin and to say, all right, I'm going to bounce back. Can I do this day after day?
So with SMCP, we actually, I mentioned that we opened our doors here in the U.S., actually on Bleecker Street, our first store in 2011. We are super well established in France and in Europe, and just about every cool girl that walks down the street is wearing a Sandro and Maj. That's my plug. But I would say that a lot of what Sandy just mentioned in terms of entrepreneurship, being flexible, those are all words that really resonate with the culture of SMCP. We operate, we're big. We're 500 employees here in North America, but the majority of those, actually all but 40, are in retail. So when we think about our organization, it's 40 people really supporting that larger retail network. There's no room for attitude. And it's really about what can I do to make sure that my client is happy, that my store manager is happy, that we're really supporting the business. So what I love about it personally is that we have a lot of creativity. In that way, we operate like a startup. I mean, I have worked in the past in a European subsidiary where it was very top down. At SMCP, we don't have room for that because if something changes, we got to change. So it's a lot of fun. You do have to be able to roll with it, to be flexible, and we look for people who can sort of keep a good attitude and are really curious, because at the end of the day, when you're ever changing, when there's a lot of change going on, you have to be curious about how I can make things better, regardless of the department, and how I can impact change, how I can partner better, collaborate. Those are all things that when I'm interviewing, I want to hear and talk about.
Thank you. So you mentioned, for example, at interviews, you like them to ask questions also about the company and stuff. And what would you expect for a Parsons student? We all kind of have the same curriculum, so we have same requirements. But what are things that you think make someone stand out in an interview? What should we research to really stand out and resonate with who we're going to be talking about? What do you think are things that make someone really look special in an interview? And what are the requirements too?
Can I jump in?
Yeah, sure.
I think one of the things that we look at is if you've done your homework. Before you go to an interview, the first thing you need to do is research a company. If you have stores, walk the stores, get to know the product, understand the things. There's nothing worse than somebody coming in and have no clue about what we stand for, what the brand is. So key is the number one thing is do your homework. Make sure that you know the brand, what they stand for, the product they have, walk the stores. That is essential.
I can't, repeat this enough, but yes, do your homework. You'd be surprised the amount of people that have gone through or walked through Calvin Klein stores and say, wow, everybody's wearing black around here. Like, what's up with that, So you'd be surprised. Or the aesthetic always comes up, right? When a person, they get all, they get carried away with, oh, they want to work at Calvin Klein, but okay, so what do we stand for? We are minimalist. We are, very forward-thinking, a very modern aesthetic. So then you have, and nothing against this brand, but Dolce & Gabbana, like you'll have Dolce & Gabbana walking in and they look like they're out of place, So I always use that as an example when I talk to students. If you are a Dolce & Gabbana girl at heart, it's not going to work here, okay? If you are offended by sexual images, it's not going to work here, right? So, again, it's research your brand. Research where you're going to. If you are an animal rights activist, maybe, we dabble with fur. Maybe that's not the brand that you want to work for. It goes further, right, than just the name or, the position. Okay?
Maybe for me, I'll pick up on this idea of homework just to say that for me, I'm less interested in facts. I want to know that you understand when you walk in and speak with me that Sandra and Maj, our artistic directors, are sisters. That's great. I don't need to know dates necessarily. You don't have to pronounce everyone's name correctly. I hope you know that Maj is pronounced Maj. But beyond that, what I'm really looking forward to is I want to speak with people who've had an experience with our product and in our stores. So, you don't need to be a consumer. You don't have to have purchased, but have you touched our leather? We're really, Sandra's really known for having wonderful, really cool leather jackets. Have you touched our leather? Have you had an experience with our store? That's really helpful because we are a retail business. The other thing that I would say is, we do have Instagram and Facebook and lots of social media out there. So hopefully you've had also an experience with our campaigns, for example. But less for me maybe about the dates and numbers than it is just showing your passion through having experienced the brands in some way.
Be realistic. Do your homework. Be realistic enough and to say, come in and not say, well, I'm an ex-graduate and this is the dollar amount that I'm looking for. Be passionate and be humble, but do tons of research. The best way to get to know the company culture, like she said, is to walk into a store where it's a marketing place. You could see the presence of the product, but also the culture in there as well. That's the quickest way to get an assessment of who are they and would I be a good fit for them. If you're somebody that's a very minimalist, you may not work at Dolce & Gabbana and vice versa. So homework, and homework. Yeah.
Can I add one more thing? Also, we all know that you're very qualified what you do and very good at what you do. But when you go to an interview, please think about what you bring to the company as well. It's not all about, I want to get to be the head designer and make so much money. Just what you bring to the company. It has to be a win-win situation as well. A lot of times when interviews, people is surprise you. Sure.
And for example, for getting to know the company more and their environment and stuff, personally, I always look at their social media and what they do. But also, social media has changed the way we think and we interact professionally and socially. So what do you think, as Human Resource Department, do you look at people's social media or stuff, or do you think there's any way that they should use this in advantage? Because we look at companies through that. We learn who you are through that. So is there some way, the other way around, you do that? Or
so at Calvin, it's not my rule. I respect people's social media sites, Instagram, Facebook. So I'm not cross-referencing your resume to a social media site. I will cross-reference your LinkedIn professional site. Okay, so I'll always look at your resume and then I'll look you up on LinkedIn.
And please make sure that they match.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because
catfishing.
Yeah. Make sure that resume match your LinkedIn history, because sometimes if it's a gap, creates a problem.
Agree with Karen. You know, we don't cross-reference because I don't think that's playing fair. We all have private lives, but LinkedIn is a professional site. Make sure that it's presented professionally, down to the detail, but your pictures. It's not, you know, drinking at a bar somewhere. You'll be surprised. And, you know, some things are cute, but it's professional because you want to be viewed as a professional and you want to present yourself. What is your brand? How do you want to brand you before even coming in here? And a lot of times recruiters will call you first before you are coming in. So a lot of times I like to put a face to the voice, and I always will have your page up when I'm speaking with you, so this way. And I hope that you've done some research on me as well.
Yeah, I would just emphasize also LinkedIn is really the tool of today for recruiters, I would say, that and our network. And so there's, you know, everyone should have a LinkedIn profile. And, you know, it's to follow up with you, it really is a way to start branding yourself. And so you should think carefully about, you know, how you want to brand yourself and what works.
And well, once we go through this process, you've told us a little bit about how to get to an interview. And do you have maybe like some really good experience you had with someone that completely stood out, like some very special person? Someone could you think about something? Like
Do you mean a candidate?
Yeah, like some candidate that really stood out, like something that we should look up to, like.
It really depends, but one thing that I always personally look for, even for when we hire people for our company, and we got like 400 employees, is energy. You know, energy is key. How the person moves and communicates, and you know, how active you are. If you're just sitting and you don't ask questions, you just sit there and you answer every question, yes, no, yeah, you won't last long. So that's very important.
Obviously, you know, your energy walks before you walk into a room, right? So confidence, and how do you build that confidence? By researching, right? Knowledge is power. That builds your confidence level during an interview. Who stands out for me are individuals that, and I'm not giving you a tip here, but because I'll know. It's if someone, like I go, like, that's it, I'm done. If someone gives me a story, like so during my interviews, I always ask, like, what brings you to Calvin Klein? Like, what is it about Calvin Klein, right? And so I'll get the typical answer, you know, this is a great company, blah, 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 blah. But then you get these individuals that connect with the product. I bought my first cologne, I bought my first CK1, and or I had my poster up on the wall, or my mom bought me these groovy jeans, and so right away there's a connection to the brand, and you'd be surprised. It's those individuals that connect, that resonate, that actually succeed and stay with us because they want to they truly believe in the success of Calvin Klein. So, and they're intricate parts and crucial parts of the company. So those are the individuals. So when we talk about connecting with that brand, connecting with that company, that's what it means. Do you really believe in that brand? And that will actually lead to your success or drive your success in the company.
I think the individual that really stands out to me are people that are comfortable in their skin. And I think the way that you get to that is that you know this is a potential perfect fit for you. You've done your research. You've been to the store. You could speak very articulately about when did you first come encounter with the brand, and why do you like about this, and why you should be a great fit for the brand. So it's about storytelling and have a conversation. And the way to get comfortable with that is practice. Mm-hmm. You know, practice with your neighbor. Don't practice with a family member because you'll get giggly, you know, because they know you too well. Practice with somebody else. And it brings different ways of telling a story. And the other thing about being comfortable in your skin, you always want to present the best version of you. But if you're not a person that could pull off high heels, don't wear high heels. So it should be, you should be really comfortable. You don't have to worry about the restriction. All you have to focus is that conversation that you're having with that recruiter. And the most importantly is with the hiring manager. The hiring managers will then tell you their expectations, their vision, and they would be the best person to know if you're the perfect fit.
Yeah, I would add to that just to say that if you've been invited in to interview, it's because we want to get to know you. So it's okay to be a little bit vulnerable and to share stories, as Karen said. We want to get to know you so that we, outside of what you present on a resume, which we can read, we've read, who are you and why are you here? And some of that is body language, confidence, but some of that is also just being willing to share a little bit of yourself. And then I think the other thing I would just add on to is that keep in mind that generally speaking, when it comes to HR's role in recruitment, that we are often making sure that you're qualified for the role, and we're also there as maybe the keepers of culture. So we want to make sure when we're getting to know you, can we see you, being successful and happy in our environment? When you walk down our, Soho loft open atmosphere where you have no privacy, is that person going to be okay with that? Those are kinds of some questions that a recruiting professional may be asking. So, don't be afraid to let the person you're interviewing with get to know you.
I just want to add one thing because we put a lot of emphasis on fit, unfit, right? So let's say you are qualified, okay? You have all of the qualifications needed to fit that specific position, but you don't get hired, okay? So that happens a lot. So that's our responsibility to make sure. So I'll take Sandra's reference where we're matchmaking, right? We know what's internal, right? We know the group of individuals that you would need to connect with. And maybe, for whatever reason, it's not going to be a good match, right? So why would we set you up to fail? Okay, so that's what you have to think about. Like, don't always take a rejection like brutally, like, oh boy, I should have gotten it. Sometimes there are other circumstances that you're not aware of that we're actually making the right decision, for you actually.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That happens a lot.
And a good recruiter will always keep those individuals in a special tab.
Yes.
And they say, not now, but yes for the future, right? And then you'll always get pinged and invited back. Things change or you've grown. We'll always keep those individuals on a separate file. Yep.
Thank you. That's great to know. And for example, if you match the company, as for example for our summer internships or future jobs, like for example, I'm going to intern at Calvin Klein for the menswear design team. Nice. So yes, I'll be seeing you. So for example, what would make us successful in an internship or in a future job? Like, what should we be expecting? What should we do? Could you tell?
In any internship, you're there to learn, right? So curious was used. I always tell everyone coming in, it doesn't matter what age, how senior you are, still be curious, okay? Be a sponge to interns. Like, you're going to be there to observe, but also be humble that it doesn't matter what you're tasked to do. You're going to find that there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that task in the bigger picture. So nothing is beneath you, okay? And also, in terms of branding yourself, like, always remember that any day you can meet anybody, okay? So you always have to be on your best behavior, right? You have to be professional. You have to be, just be yourself, but at the same time, you just never know who you're going to meet or who you're talking to, right? Because you're going to be, you're not going to know everybody.
One thing that you need to keep in mind is you'd be surprised how many people start an internship and then come back every year, and then when they graduated, they end up working in the position, or with somebody that they met in that company, or they move somebody else and there's a referral. So that's why it's so important to behave. Use the time to learn about the company, what drives it, make sure it's a time for you to learn how to work in the environment, to behave. Actually, my daughter is doing an internship right now at Christian Dior, and she's loving it. She's in training and marketing, and every day she comes and tells me all the good things they're doing. And it's exciting because that's part of what you learn and how you do it. You might work there or not in the future, but the people that you meet there, how you relate with people, that's very important as well.
Because remember, you're the driver of you. So also come in with realistic expectations and say, I want to check off 2 things in these weeks that I will be gaining internship experience, and really be your pace setter and say, did I learn this? And when I walk away from this experience, what are the skills that I want to gain? And that should be something that you think about. So that'll kind of position your thinking and the way that you work very differently, and say, hey, what are the projects I could help you with, and how can I be a better support to the department, and you go from there. So the goal for internship is live experience in a professional environment that could potentially be your career and your new family. So take that and be that driver.
Yeah, I can't say enough about internships. And also just, we've spoken a little bit about branding, but you're branding yourself every day in a very small community when you intern. So, we were discussing before we started this how we know people in common, or we've met previously. I met Sandy many years ago. It's a small world, and so do yourself the biggest service by really taking advantage of the opportunity that you have to intern. You just never know when you're going to meet with that person again, or who will remember you and reach out. Also, I think that we all work in busy companies where there's a lot going on, and teams tend to talk amongst themselves, but when it comes to interning, don't miss the opportunity to meet your fellow interns, and to reach out maybe to other departments or speak with. Hopefully someone is making that connection for you, but it doesn't mean that you can't make it yourself when you see someone at the kitchen over coffee, to get to know that person a little. Because the other thing that can really help anyone in their career is having a sponsor or a mentor, and that person doesn't necessarily have to be the person you're working for. It can be someone who takes an interest and can be a sounding board for you, whether it be today or in the future. So connect with people is really the message. Connect with people, even if networking isn't your thing, take an interest, have coffee with someone, really take advantage of your internship.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to ask about mentorship. Like, we're in this company, we've always been guided by teachers, and some people have had teachers that have been with us the whole process through Parsons. But now, how do we find someone within such large companies to mentor us? Or do you have a program that helps with that, or do you think it's completely personal? How should we go about it?
We have personally, for our company, we have a peer program. We peer the new people coming in with somebody that's doing the same job, got more experience. And sometimes we do it locally, and we have 12 offices. Sometimes we have to do in different cities. So it's interesting because you get to know people in other locations, doing other things, but you have somebody to sounding board, you can ask questions, it can help you. And a lot of times end up being a good relationship. It's become your friends, and you end up being program and they're still friends. So that's key. A lot of companies do that.
Fortunately for you, you will have an onboarding plan. We have a very structured internship program. So all interns receive an onboarding plan with goals, objectives, key individuals that they will be meeting with throughout their 8-week internship. So we're fortunate, or the interns are fortunate, but those individuals that are not as fortunate, again, the power is in you. It's in your hands. I would suggest reviewing if there's a company intranet site, right, with a directory, going via departments. Talk to your managers. Don't be scared to talk to your managers. Talk to your peers within the department. Also, fellow interns. Hopefully you'll have a new hire orientation or the first day where all interns are gathering together. Like, don't be afraid to make connections and say, can I get your email address, or can I get your phone number? Can I get your name? So again, the power is in your hands to drive those connections.
Within our environment, I've worked for companies where we would assign you a mentor and buddy you up, so this way you would shadow them. In this instance, in the summertime, we do have a partner that will assign to you that will be your lead, that will be your mentor. But I think you should also own that part as well, because certain management styles, and they all vary. So who do you want to learn what from? And sometimes it may not just be that one mentor, but what are the attributes in these managers that you want to emulate? So strike a conversation and have conversations with them, and make sure that you have periodically touch bases with your manager just to see how am I progressing, and am I going, am I meeting your expectation? These are my expectations. So it's just having like the same dialogue as you would with a professor.
And then I would just say, don't lose touch. You create relationships, and it's one of those things where relationships take maintenance. So even if it's a check-in periodically or keeping someone in your LinkedIn, these are relationships, especially in an industry like fashion. Community is small. You're going to run into to these people again. So keep those relationships, and you never know what someone will be doing, or maybe that relationship will develop further in the future.
And just to add to that, there's one way to keep touch, or there's the version of keeping touch, and there's another version of stalking. Okay? Do not stalk. Do not email every week. You have these individuals, and we will remember you. Okay? Check in every month. If a person does get back to you and say, there's nothing right now, then respect that. Give that person space. Check in with them again on a monthly, bi-monthly basis. Okay.
That's great to know. And I think the crowd might have some questions, so we wanted to open it up to the crowd to see what you would want to know from them. So I think you're going to help us with the microphones. Sure.
Maybe they can just stand up and just speak really clearly. You want to go first?
Small enough.
Yeah. I don't know how relevant or irrelevant this question is, but as an international student, this question is bugging me a lot. Because many people tell me that international students are at a distinctive disadvantage when it comes to an interview. Is it correct, or I don't know what is true and what is not, but I am very worried about it. So that's why I want clarification in this regard.
It does depend on the corporation, right? Or it depends on the company. But at Calvin, we're actually very sponsor friendly. We're also very internationally friendly. With internships, we do require that international students be associated to a U.S. school. Okay, so they need to have work authorization, an OPT, right? If the person is out of school and they're looking for a full-time job, now we are not sponsoring entry-level employees, but definitely mid-management and above. So, and all it's because of visa requirements. So the immigration is really is very selective and very limited in terms of the approvals of certain visas. So right now we're only working with like O1 visas, which are extraordinary for extraordinary abilities, and that requires really a senior level work or experience level. So not everyone is going to fall into that O1 or have the flexibility or eligibility to actually get that approval. Okay. But, you know, for you to, I mean, that's a question, you know. I would state, you know, what is your current authorization to work? Make sure you have authorization. But there's ways to go around it. So if you are a freelancer, let's say if you are a designer, you can petition for your own O1, okay, and be an independent contractor and also get work with your own O1. Okay.
To add to that, actually, we were talking about earlier today, is we do an awful lot of relocation. You know, we go and find talent where the talent is. So we bring a lot of creative talent from Europe to the States. A lot of European companies love the merchandisers from the United States to go to Europe. So we bring people in and we help them with the visas and stuff. But like Karen said, you need the O visa is the key visa right now. The H-1B is very hard to get. Exactly. And, you know, they release them in April 1st. By the 5th, they're gone. Yeah. So if you have if you've been published, if you are creative, if you're a design, you can get those, you know, and people is looking for talent. They don't care where you come from, what country or anything like that. So I don't think that's an issue.
No, disadvantage.
You said it beautifully.
Yeah, great.
I think in the back here.
Yeah, my question is, in terms of sending off your resumes and cover letters to companies, and you all spoke about having that match once you meet for an interview. I find the difficulties getting that interview. What are some recommendations to make your resume or cover letter stand out to get that opportunity?
Realistic was the other word, right? Used. Read the job description. Okay, I have limited time, right? I'm right now. I'm working on probably 18 searches. And all of my jobs are posted online, so I am actually going through that database for all the submissions. So I'm actually skimming through. So I'm looking for key things. So I'm looking for a match in terms of there's certain qualifications that I'm expecting to see that should match your resume or your experience. Okay, so there are a lot of individuals that submit their resumes to every single job. Mm-hmm. Okay, and that's not good. So, so again, how you're going to stand out if you match, you know, the qualifications of that position that's posted.
You need to be careful. Every time we post a job, we probably get hundreds of resumes. Okay, in of the hundreds of resumes you get, probably 20% of people are qualified. The rest are accountants, or not that it's bad, but it's just trying to get to the company. But if you're looking for a designer, that's the only resumes you're going to be looking at. So, you know, I would recommend really find the positions that align with you, what your expectations are. And, you know, it's good to shoot high and try to get a great job, but at the same time, we should be realistic with the position, because if you see your name so many times, it gets to a point that, you know, people might not pay attention. We get about something like 3,500 unsolicited resumes a week, you know. So somebody got to go through all those all the time.
I would just add too that if you happen to know someone at the company, you know, please, the greatest thing is submit your application through the system, but also let that person know, hey, I sent in a resume. Can you mention it to so and so? And it doesn't have to be to an HR person or whomever, but make sure that you're flagging the fact that you came in. And the other thing is, speaking about the number of resumes that come in, they tend, as soon as we post a position, like, there's an influx of resumes, and so, you know, at some point it happens sometimes that you'll get so many resumes that you have to stop looking. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if you're really following and you see a job that you're really interested in, don't sit on it, don't wait, send it in right away. Look for someone who can introduce you to someone at the company and really seize the moment. And so what that requires is that your resume is ready, and that it's, you know, focused on not only the skills, but really, you know, on some of your achievements. I think you really want to highlight, you know, how you've added value, and that is another way, I think, in my book, that you can set yourself aside, because I don't necessarily, you know, I'm expecting, if you're submitting your resume, that you're qualified for the role. But if you tell me how you're going to deliver something more, how you're going to add value to the company, that can be a way to set yourself aside. or I'm sorry, aside is not the word. That doesn't sound good. Apart.
And I think also take a look at your resume. It should be easy to read. So if I only have 2 seconds to read it, I want to know your name and all the contact information, and just pay attention to all those details. Make sure that the fonts are not too elaborate, so that is this a Linda or a Cinda or whoever, and then make sure that it's it's really easy. And I've gotten cute resumes, and it makes me laugh, and I want to know this person a little bit. But on the other extreme, it's wow, it's a little bit of everywhere. It's very telling of the way this person thinks and kind of process. So just, even down to the resume that you are presenting.
And please use a spell check.
Yeah, spell check. And the other thing is, if you are submitting you're submitting your resume for a creative position, chances are we want to see a creative resume. So, whereas finance, it's fine if it's, Arial, 10, blah, boring. But when it comes to visual merchandising or creative services, my expectation is that's something you're really interested in, and I want to see it represented in your resume. So, think about that also. What are you targeting? What career are you targeting? And then, again, it's another form of branding. Your resume speaks a lot, even if it's font, the font that you use, or the, having, whether or not you're posting your Instagram handle, or interest, or whatever it is, those things are important.
Also, if you have a website, make sure that you put that on your resume. If you have additional work that you would like to attach it. Your portfolio, images, something that's how you're going to stand out as well. Like, so you have those extras. I'm going to look at those extras.
Hi, my name is Sarah. We were just talking about it, that's why I thought about it. So, what is your thoughts about students that would bring their portfolios to show you guys that they've done in school, that they're proud of? Is that something you're interested in seeing, and how should we kind of bring it out and show you?
Most definitely. For creative positions, I expect you to come with a portfolio. Now, times are changing. Things are getting a little more technical, so individuals are now moving away from actual portfolios where you actually have swatches. I'm just talking about to designers, but a lot of individuals are actually coming in or bringing in their iPads. So, everything is good. Okay?
Yeah, that's key. We see that
Also, if you're bringing in portfolio, be selective what you want to present. Sometimes you'll be surprised. It's like a big, heavy book, and it's poof. And you have 30 minutes to 45 minutes with, the recruiter or the hiring manager to go through all that. So highlight what you want to. And I think that's very telling of what you're capable and how broad your creativity is. Yep.
And don't be surprised, don't be surprised if after the first or second interview, the company asks you to do a project, some kind of project, and just follow direction, be clear, and they want to see how you will work in that environment. So that's very common.
Very quickly, so let's just say, so I'm at Calvin Klein. Someone is coming from Ralph Lauren, okay? So we all know the aesthetic of Ralph Lauren, very different from Calvin Klein. So if you're seeking a job at Calvin Klein coming from Ralph Lauren, I already know what Ralph Lauren looks like. You can show me what you've done, but then I also want to see what your personal work is. So what are you going to bring to Calvin Klein? How are you going to align? Okay, so it's not just showcasing what you work on, but also some of your personal stuff. Because I'm one of those individuals that wants to see that.
I think so. The main thing is curating your work, knowing who you are curating for.
I have a question. So you have many different platforms that they use as a recruiter. There are a lot of sort of online portfolio sites. You also have your company website. And then you have university job portals. There are so many tools that you can use. Some recruiters actually go to LinkedIn and try to find those specific individuals with specific skills on the back end. So can you tell us a little bit about how much of your time that you go through, which portal, and where do you find the most talents from, from which portal?
So at Calvin, our applicant tracking system is as good as we use it, right? Or as good as the individuals, or as good as we promote it. So all of our applicants, so for me, that's my first go. Okay, I go to my applicant tracking system, so I'm actually going through those resumes and looking at those portfolios that are coming in through the job postings. I complement the search by using LinkedIn. LinkedIn, for me, is a passive recruiting search engine. Okay, so I post jobs, but those, if you're going to submit your application through LinkedIn, it's going to go straight into my portal. Now, if I contact you via LinkedIn, it's because you don't know why I'm contacting you. I'm actually informing you about a position that might be a potential match. We do use or have access to like Style Careers. We're now going to go on the Business of Fashion. We'll be on the Muse soon. So there will be more portals to go through, but they will be very specific because they will be specific to certain industries.
I think for SMCP, we really use passive search a lot, to be honest, especially because we are a very small team, and so often we're looking for specific experience. However, if we find an applicant who comes through our system, that person has 150 points over anybody else because I know that they want to be with us. So, that I think is really important. And I think for all of us up here, we want to know that you're coming in because you're super excited and passionate about not only the industry, but about coming to work with us. So, submitting an application, it'll often all, run into the same site, but it's really good. We have a lot of people who will do the unsolicited sort of resume send in through LinkedIn. I get lots of resumes, but I can't keep up with all of those, whereas if it's in my database, I can find you very easily, and then if I happen to link with you some other way, you're shining star because you submitted your resume.
Ditto. So it's for us at Vince, it's half and half, and it's a lot of time it's very role specific. Some positions are harder to search for, and it's not, for example, for us, technical designers and pattern makers, they don't exist on social media. So it's the old-fashioned, newspaper post. So it's different channels will get you different, needs filled as quickly as possible. So for more of the designs, we go on LinkedIn, and it's more passive. And for the stores needs, or the retail stores needs, it's a lot of applicant tracking system. Once you post it, you'll generate a lot of talent through the pipeline.
I do want to plug our recruiters as well, okay? Because they also, recruitment agencies, don't be afraid of recruiting agencies, because sometimes we will hit a wall where we're at full capacity. We cannot recruit on our own in terms of or give the specific job the attention that it needs. So we will go out to recruitment agencies to help us with a certain search, and we've established relationships with these firms, so they know what we're looking for. And so you should also build a relationship with recruiters out there. I know the purpose is to get a full-time job, but sometimes it's great to break into a company by getting a freelance assignment. So, never say no to a freelance assignment if you're not working, because that's also another way to get into the company.
Thank you. No, and actually, when you come to an agency like ours, we might have 5, 10, 20 opportunities in your area, and then you decide what company you feel better, or with your skills, what we have, And At the end of the day, is to have more opportunities. Talk with more people, network, and get in front of people, and the right opportunities will come up to you.
Thank you so much. Then thank you for the crowd being here, and thank you for all of our lovely speakers. And if you could give like one sentence of your last advice for a Parsons student now that they're graduating.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I would say
No,
stay
have some-
curious and be hungry. And just, you're the driver.
Yeah. Your school is great. It's fantastic. A lot of the great talent that come with the school. So the fact that you were here, it helped you to people to look at you. So, but at the same time, you still need to sell what you bring to the table, how the benefit you bring to the company, the energy, the drive. So.
Be nice, okay? Stay humble, be yourselves. Just because fashion, there's that movie Devil Wears Prada. We're not all like that, okay? And I will tell you that if you are a diva, you'll just see me and no one else. Yep. So you will not be sent to anyone. You think of your next opportunity as your next home. You're going to spend a lot of hours there. You want to be surrounded by individuals that you're inspired by, that you want to work with. You're going to be spending, again, a lot of hours with these individuals. So you want to be surrounded by nice people. So just, stay level set yourself. Stay humble. Be nice. Okay.
And maybe last, it can be intimidating getting out there and interviewing, but you have to do it and you have to embrace it. It's a challenge. Make it a game, and have confidence in yourself. I mean, you're graduating, or you have graduated. You've just accomplished something incredible, and you need to be proud of it, and you need to walk in and feel really good. And when you have that interview, remember that we brought you into the room because we want to get to know you, and we want to like you, and we want for you to be the one. Every interview that I want you to be the one. So good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.